Hi everybody! I hope you're all having a good day. I hope you're all smiling and enjoying your lovely day. In this following tutorial, I'm going to show you on how to set up iFacialMocap and FaceMotion3D inside of Warudo so you can have very expressive face tracking when it comes to using an iPhone. So, in case you don't know, iFacialMocap and FaceMotion3D, they're developed by the same person, Pecco, and basically the tracking quality for both of them are pretty similar. FaceMotion3D's benefit is that they have some slight extra settings, and they also get updated, but either way, I will say in advance, both of these programs, there are paid though. So iFacialMocap, it is perpetual $6-7-ish. FaceMotion3D, it's a little bit more confusing on the price, as everything is like has a separate price, so it's really confusing. So if you just want iFacialMocap quality tracking and you just want to just use it for just simple VTubing, I would just recommend just get iFacialMocap. If you want to go a little bit more advanced, like if you're going to use like sort of iFacialMocap sort of tracking quality with other 3D programs and such like Unity or Blender, it would be more recommended to use FaceMotion3D. But otherwise, we're going to cover both programs in case you have either one. And basically, pretty much what we're going to do, again, this is only for iPhone. If you're Android, sadly this tutorial is not for you. If you want to get Android face tracking in Warudo, the only way is for MeowFace or VTube Studio Android and using a program called FaceMocap to VMC, or just use VCFace and send via VMC the tracking data. But eventually there will be native support for MeowFace as well as VTube Studio face tracking, so just keep in mind, be patient with the dev of Warudo. They will eventually add it, and I will definitely make a tutorial on that whenever the release happens. But either way, we're going to start off with iFacialMocap, and we're going to go ahead and press on open, and then I can have it where my face tracking will work. Again, you can mess with the other setting that they have here. You can click on the gear setting, adjust motion weights, and you can mess with your blend shapes, of course, but again, Warudo has blend shape adjustments within the app, so you don't have to touch iFacialMocap, but again, your own preference. But either way though, pretty much what you're going to do once you have iFacialMocap, on the top usually there should be like a blue ribbon that appears. For my case though, like my iPhone's already pretty much connected basically. I just have to set up in Warudo. But for your case, you might have the blue ribbon. So if by any chance you're having connection issues, then you need to make sure to check if the local IP address is the same basically. But either way, what we're going to do, we're going to click on character, we're going to click on motion capture, and we're going to click on set up motion capture here. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. So the face tracking template, I want this to be set to iFacialMocap. When it comes to blend shape mapping, keep in mind every model is different. Not every model has ARKit blend shape. So if by any chance you're a Void model, you never touch HANA tool, you didn't commission somebody for your ARKit blend shape or anything like that, you are most likely won't be able to get this working. For my case, I do have the ARKit blend shapes, but again, you may not have it. If this says 0 out of 52, you can't really use this feature. Instead, you're going to have to switch over to VRM, so that way your face tracking can work. It's not as expressive though, so it's recommended you get HANA tool if you're a Void model. If you're a from scratch model, you're gonna have to rig it yourself, or you could use an add-on called Face It, which is a little bit more complicated to use, but you know, again, I do have a tutorial on how to rig ARKit blend shapes in case you want to refer to that for from scratch stuff. But again, everybody's different on how they want to approach it, but either way, choose whichever blend shape mapping is appropriate. If you're an MMD model, then you can choose MMD, but I'm going to choose ARKit for mine. You can mess with these other settings. I have mine where it enables head and body movements basically, and it says if disabled, only the facial blend shapes and eye rotation are applied, so yeah. So you can go ahead and mess with this. I have another tutorial on lip sync basically, so I'll click on OK, and then I want to quickly show you what happens when you have none selected for the pose tracking. So I'm going to do that. And pretty much, as you can see, you know, you can still be able to move around and such, you know, hi, how you doing? So you can be able to move around. This is, you know, if you don't have any, like, webcam for hand tracking, or if you don't have a leap motion or you don't want to use real life or anything like that, you can of course set your pose to be none. But otherwise though, if you do want to have MediaPipe hand tracking, then what you will have to do instead, I'll click on set up motion capture here, set this to MediaPipe, or not MediaPipe, set this to iFacialMocap, my bad, iFacialMocap, okay, then set this to MediaPipe webcam hands, my bad. So keyboard, I'll set, for my case, because I want to have a pose with it, I'll set to have the keyboard and the trackpad toggle, but again, you don't have to if you don't want it. I'll set the input camera to my Elgato one, but your camera is different. And then pretty much for this case, I'll go ahead and click on none for these two for now. But if you want to, of course, have it, you can be able to toggle it. But pretty much, if you want to combine webcam hand tracking with your iPhone tracking, that's pretty much how you do it. You need to make sure, of course, your webcam and iPhone are connected basically. I can raise my hands up in the air and I could be like, hello. For this tutorial, I won't be covering how to set up the webcam hand tracking though. That will be in its own tutorial, as there's a lot more to talk about basically. But either way though, for iFacialMocap though, pretty much if by any chance you are struggling on getting the connection working, what you need to do, there are, I guess, sort of two things you can do. Method number one, check your firewall. But basically for, you can just go into your firewall settings, try to see if you can check your outbound or inbound rules, and try to see if you can have Warudo, basically like properly listed so it can, you know, it can be like, you know, not blocked or anything like that, especially if you haven't, if by any chance you have like an antivirus software or anything like that, then definitely you're going to have to make sure to configure the program, so that way it can allow Warudo to do what it has to do basically. But again, you know, that's pretty much on your part to do that part. Otherwise though, if by any chance your firewall is good and even if you disable the firewall, it still does not work for you, what you could try to do, could, quote unquote, is that you can go into the gear setting up here basically, and then right here where it says destination IP address here, right here in Warudo, try to copy, so under local IPs, you can type out that exact number that's being detected and put it into iFacialMocap for your case and see if that might help. Otherwise, even if, like, let's say they are the same number and it still doesn't work out, then I would recommend please join the Warudo Discord server in that case, and hopefully there'll be a solution. For me, I'm really bad when it comes to detecting rare or uncommon Wi-Fi issues when it comes to iPhone tracking, so I'm not really the best person to ask regarding that. So I recommend either Warudo Discord server, or you can even join the iFacialMocap Discord server, which I will make sure to link down below if I do find it, or I'll double check to make sure if it's active. I heard there was one, but we'll double check. But either way though, pretty much that is at least for iFacialMocap. Now before we get into the whole settings configuration, I do also want to quickly go over FaceMotion3D. So let me go ahead and swap over to FaceMotion3D real quick. So right over here, this is FaceMotion3D. Hello. So basically for FaceMotion3D, this is more different. So what you're going to have to do, because Warudo does not have native FaceMotion3D or 3D support, mainly just because it's like unnecessary. So basically what you have to do is that you have to go into your settings, and then there is streaming settings right here. And you see where it says other here? You need to make sure that this is purchased, because this is something you have to buy though, which again, this is why it's not highly recommended to use FaceMotion3D unless, you know, you need some certain settings. But basically though, pretty much, right here, you have to make sure to select on the compatible with iFacialMocap here, basically, so that way it can work. And then of course, there should be like an option, I think it was, not that one, there's like an area where you can be able to pay for the stuff basically. I do not remember actually where it's at. I believe. Yeah, I don't remember where it's at actually. But somewhere here there is like, oh yeah, I think, yeah, right here. So unlock streaming time. So right here you have to buy this one here. So that way you can actually use it with Warudo if you want to use FaceMotion3D. If you buy the one that has Unity, from what I've tested, it did not work. It can work if you're going to do some Unity experiment stuff, like, you know, if you're actually using, like, Unity and all that. Warudo is made with Unity, but, again, the program is set up differently. There is no native FaceMotion3D support, so if you accidentally buy Unity, well, then you're kind of screwed on that part. You could request for a refund if it was an accidental buy, but I'm not sure about that part. But with other, you can get for a subscription, or you can just get a permanent license, which I have the permanent license for my case. But this is what you have to buy, pretty much only this one, as this will work with other Vtuber programs, basically. Either way, though, I'm going to go ahead and hit on back, basically. I'm going to reset the face tracking. There you go. And then what I'm going to then do is that I'm going to press on the top left thing here, go to other, type in, of course, the IP address, which there's fine for the local IP. And then pretty much though, what I already showed you with the whole like setup the motion capture, it's pretty much the same process. Again, it's just a different app that is just a different iFacialMocap. So pretty much the setup is the same basically. So pretty much though, you know, for my case, I got my, of course, webcam hand tracking, and then of course, you know, for my case I use FaceMotion3D, but your case might be iFacialMocap. But either way though, what we're going to then do is we're going to go over these things. And again, if you're wondering about the whole webcam hand tracking, how you can improve your hand tracking basically, again, it will be in a separate tutorial. But either way, you can have it where you can mirror your tracking basically if you like that. For me, usually I prefer to have it at none or 0 or no, but otherwise you may prefer if it's mirrored. Calibrate eye movement is that if you calibrate the eyes, what it'll do is that if your eyes are in the wrong placement, it will make it so it's back to the center. I usually recommend to have this on, but you may have a different preference. I'm also going to quickly go ahead and disable the media pipe hand tracking as it's getting a little annoying right now. So basically right here, if by any chance, which I highly recommend every time you start up Warudo, please make sure you click on calibrate because your character is definitely going to be in the wrong placement. So what I personally do is I press on the reset button for both either iFacialMocap or FaceMotion3D. When I am getting started with the program basically, I always have to click on the reset to make sure my face is facing front. Like that, and then I have to click on calibrate. That way I'm in, you know, I'm corrected basically. I do the same thing with Vnyam, by the way. This isn't new to me, so same thing. But basically what you're going to do also, if by any chance you want to make your blend shape more expressive, you can click on configure blend shape mapping. It's highly recommended to mess with the input settings only primarily. Otherwise you could mess with output, but it's not really recommended. So let's say if you want your blinking to happen more, you know, you want your blinking to be more sensitive basically, you can of course decrease the value and such. Basically kind of experiment with the numbers depending on what you want basically. I could also have it where like if I go to jaw open, set this to 0.7 here, it makes my mouse move a lot more. I think if it was 0.5, there you go, whoa. So yeah, it makes my mouse move a lot more basically. So you can definitely mess around with these configuration blend shapes basically. It's just like VTube Studio. If you ever mess with VTube Studio, the setup is the same. It's the same concept, literally the same system. Anyways, so once you set up your blend shape mapping, making your tracking more expressive basically, what you're going to then do is we're going to start off with head movement intensity. So basically, if you want to have it where, for my case, as you can see, I can hardly move right now. If you want to move even more, go ahead and increase the value basically. So for my case, I usually have my Y value to be very high because I like that bouncy look, but everybody is different of course. So for me, I like the bouncy look, but for other people, may not like it, but experiment however you like. So Y axis is up and down, X axis is left and right, like this, and then Z axis is back and forth. like that. Usually I would set my z-axis to be lower though, as I don't want to do it too much, but again, everybody's different. So you can have yours like this, so that way your body movement is, you can move a lot more basically. Maximal head translation, this is basically referring, I don't remember exactly, but I think it's like referring to like how far you can go basically and such, that sort of limit. I don't remember the exact one. I usually just leave this as default though. But again, you can play around with the settings basically, see if maybe it might do a change. For me, I didn't really see too much of a change, but for the most part, I believe, in terms of the word, it just means like how far you can go before it will sort of limit basically. So yeah. Body movement intensity, if you want to make your body move more sensitive basically, this is also helpfully used. You might also want to adjust your head movement intensity to compensate it or make it work together in balance. So yeah. And then head rotation intensity. If you feel like your head rotation is too stiff, then you can click and drag these settings here to make your head move more. So I can increase this. So this is basically left and right head movement. This is basically up and down movement. And then this one is tilt. Like this. There you go. So like that, again, mess with your settings though, but pretty much you can be able to have your head rotation and body rotation basically. Maximal head rotation, pretty much applying to this, at least I'm hoping I'm correct, again I could be wrong, but when it comes to maximal, it's referring to like how far, like sort of its maximum before it sort of like, because you don't want to like rotate your head and then it's like, oh, your head just turned a whole 180 degrees. So this helps sort of like make it so your body movements are more natural. You can of course increase the range of course, but again I would prefer at max you could set it to 90 degrees, but otherwise I would just leave it at default. It's pretty good. Head rotation offset is referring to if by any chance you feel like you need a little bit of some correction regarding your placement, you can set, of course, an offset basically. So again, it really depends on the setup, but you can make it so like if you feel like your head is like off center or something like that, or if it's incorrect of a placement, then you can of course correct it via here basically. So let's say for mine, I'm looking too far to the left here, so having this can help straighten my face basically. Eye movement intensity. If you feel like your eyes are hardly moving at all, as you can see with mine, then it's recommended to, look and then kind of increase the range basically. For my case, I can't move it too much though, because then my thing will glitch out. But either way, this can help you out in case you want to make your eyes move more basically. But this is primarily for bone blend shapes though. If you have, or did I say bone blend shapes? I'm sorry, I meant bones, just eye bones. So basically, this is mainly best if you have eye bones. So if you have Hana tool blend shapes, or if you just rely on bones as preference, then this would be recommended to mess with. Otherwise, if you have blend shape eyes, you don't really want to mess with this. In fact, you just let the blend shape eyes do their magic. So yeah. And then of course eye movement compensation. If I were to rotate my head, which yeah, you do see a bit of my cursed eyes glitching out. So let's say if I were rotating my head, right, and you see how my eyes are being straight, basically if I were to increase the value, it makes it so like, because real life, like realistically, if you look at yourself in a mirror and then like you rotate your head and you're looking straight, you know how like your eyes are just going to kind of like stay in the center basically, if that makes sense. This kind of helps give a little bit of like that slight naturalness basically regarding to your eyes basically. So instead of me like when I rotate my head the eyes look straight, it can actually look in the center as if it was like much more natural basically. For me, I don't really have this, but again, it's because I don't use the bone eyes though, but if you do use the bone eyes, you could definitely benefit from it. So as you can see, basically, so yeah. But either way though, then we have eye blink sensitivity. If you feel like your eye blinking is not enough, you might want to crank this up so that way your blinking is a lot more sensitive. And then linked eye blinking. This is referring to if you by chance don't like how you wink too often and you want that to be more corrected, then set it to yes, so that way you don't wink basically, and you can just blink with both eyes. It's pretty nice, especially if you don't wink that often and you want more natural blinking. But keep in mind, of course, you won't be able to wink, so I usually have mine set to no, but again, everyone has their preference. Limit eye squint is that if I were to like smile like this, it limits it. Pretty much I have this set to no, but again, if you want to avoid being a little too smiley, then you might want to have this as yes. Use bones for eye movement. Again, if you are using Hana tool or if you prefer eye bones at a preference, it would be more recommended to have this yes. For my case, I like to set mine as no basically. And then for my case, also they did set average eye rotations. You can click yes to this, as it could probably help with your eye rotation stuff. But otherwise, you can say no. But again, preference. For me, I personally like the blend shape eyes because as you can see, my eyes move a lot more naturally. So yeah. So just as a little extra editor's note, if by any chance you feel like your face tracking is a bit too smooth, then you're going to have to go into blueprints, find your face tracking for iFacialMocap, and then what you're going to do is you're going to look into these two nodes here. So if it's your blend shape that you feel like they're too smooth, you may want to decrease the value so it's a lot more faster. As for body movement, you may also want to decrease this if you want your tracking to be more faster. Otherwise, if you feel like you want more smoothness, then you can increase it basically. But that's pretty much how you can adjust smoothness in regarding iFacialMocap. If you follow along with these steps basically, pretty much you should be able to have a bit more movement in your tracking so you can feel a lot more alive. But do keep in mind, of course, though, there may be some chances of these settings changing in the future and that this tutorial may not cover every new setting that Warudo has to offer. Again, Warudo is early access now. Technically, Warudo has been existing for a year though, but it's early access now. It was beta test, but either way, pretty much do keep in mind there are probably going to be future updates that may change the tracking quality or something like that, so just keep that in mind. But otherwise though, at least for the time being though, if you follow the steps, you should be a lot more expressive basically. And yeah, I hope that this tutorial helps you out, and yeah, join the Warudo Discord server if you need any other help or assistance basically. And yeah, I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!